we're gonna have a look at how your prospects think, because understanding that psychology is really important to understanding how the website and online works. Can I ask you the question, do you actually need any more leads? Maybe you've got them kind of right under your nose. You've got all the kind of new business that you need. And then I'm going to run through some of the marketing tactics that I think will work best for you, from websites through to search engines. So first thing I'm going to say is that the way to think about online is it's just a channel, right? It's still about conversations. It's still about meetings. We're going to have a look at how you can get more meetings, but that to me is really still the goal of what your marketing should be doing. So I see a lot of kind of so-called experts to the accounting profession advising using all kinds of different marketing tactics that work really well for B2C businesses like e-commerce and online retail, but they just don't apply when it comes to the accounting profession. So for the first part of the recipe for online marketing success this year is to understand that things like getting more website traffic, getting more clicks, getting more followers, these are just what we call in the industry vanity metrics. They make you feel better, but they don't actually, any of them necessarily result in more clients. The goal of your marketing, the thing you need to measure, is those conversations that you're going to have, which actually end up getting you more business. Maybe if you're selling like really highly commoditized compliance services, then you can kind of have an e-commerce type model. There are a few firms worldwide doing that, but few and far between. It's a very different business model from, I think, what most of you will have here on the webinar today. And something that I'll probably repeat it several times in this webinar is that people buy from people. They don't buy from, the human factor is really important. That's the same now as it was in 1995, 1975, or 1875. The key is, you've got to talk to people. So, your website, email marketing, social media, all the rest of the things that you can do, they're just a channel for you to try and get more conversations. So that's what your key metric is in your marketing is meetings. How many meetings do you need to get booked? That's either meetings with clients to try and upsell and cross-sell things to them, or meetings with prospects where you're going to try and turn them into clients. The end goal of your marketing needs to be meetings, in my opinion, or otherwise you're not going to sell much at all. The second thing you need to know is what's your conversion ratio. So what I mean by this is how many meetings do you need to have to get a client. So let's say your conversion ratio is 50% and you want to get 2 new clients each month, then you're going to have a minimum of 4 meetings to make that happen. And this is going to be a theme of the webinar today is keeping it simple, and that's what I want to focus on. That key metric about meetings is to try and keep things simple. We don't need to focus too much on, we've got data coming out of our ears with online marketing, too much data in some ways. What we really need to know is kind of that key metric of getting meetings booked. And in terms of keeping it simple, look, I know that online marketing is confusing. We're an online marketing company, and there's there's a lot of information for us to take in. If you're not in that full time, I'm sure it's very, very confusing. So that focus on getting more meetings means you've got something simple to focus on, and that's going to help you win more business. You get that part right, and we can start looking at more advanced online marketing. For most firms that I see day to day, they're not doing the fundamentals well. So that's what we're going to have a look at today. And before we get into, directly into the online marketing side of things, just want to kind of talk about maybe this fact of maybe you've got all the leads that you need. This is something I've been thinking about quite a lot recently, is that we're always talking about trying to get new clients, but really what we should talk about really is, more business. There can be valid reasons to try and get more clients, but I think for most people, we want to just grow our business. We want to kind of make more money, be more profitable. And, whether you're an accounting firm, bookkeeping firm, whatever type of business, generally the best place to look for more business is your existing client base. But in my experience, very few firms do this very well. They don't have a systematic approach to talking to their existing clients and getting more business from them. So, before we look at things like search engine marketing or running Facebook advertising campaigns, maybe have a think about what would happen if you sold an additional service to 20% of your existing clients. What would that do for your revenue, for your profitability? Because obviously, we don't have an acquisition cost with those people. We already know them. The cost of actually talking to them is very small. The cost of onboarding them, well, you don't have to do that. You've already done that. So it's hugely advantageous to go and talk to existing clients and sell them something. So we'll have a look at ways we can do that as we go through. Let's start having a look at some of the ways that you can get out there and do online marketing this year. So the first thing I want to have a look at is email marketing. And if you've ever been to any of the webinars I've hosted, you'll know that I love email marketing. So I'm going to put that down as the first thing that you must be doing in 2017. And this is why. So this is some statistics from the Direct Marketing Association. So email returns $38 for every dollar spent. And if we compare that to a couple of other things, search engine marketing, just over $22, social, nearly $13. So, neither of those two things is bad at the bottom, but, email way better. And we're going to this like 80-20 thing. We're talking about focusing this year. Then, you've got to do what works best first. And then we can do these other things. But if we've got limited time, we've got to do the thing that's going to give us the most return. And like I've been in online marketing, like I said, since 1999, and the only thing that's delivered consistent results for me is email, and that's across business to business, that's across business to consumer. I've run an e-commerce business. I've done online marketing for things like a Paul McCartney concert. Email is the thing across all of those different sectors and kind of products, services that consistently delivers. So it might not be cool. Social media is kind of cool. SEO's got that kind of techie appeal. And don't get me wrong, they both work. But if you're really serious about making money online, then you've got to use email. So there's three main ways you're gonna use it. Number one, newsletters. You're probably already sending an email newsletter. That doesn't mean it couldn't be improved upon. And good email newsletters are a really effective way to communicate with clients predominantly, but also prospects. I would say send monthly is a good frequency, unless you've got a lot of great content. Monthly is going to be fine. Any longer than that, it's probably not frequent enough. You're going to want to get some proper email marketing software, so something like MailChimp, Constant Contact, or BizInc Mail. Definitely not Outlook. That's not an email marketing tool. That's a one-on-one emailing tool. So in terms of newsletters to clients, you should already have their email address, and what you should be doing is sending them useful information, which includes new ways you can help them. So what I mean by that is basically selling them some more services. You know, and the newsletter is a great place to introduce those things. You can also be sending to prospects. So, a thing that we're going to talk about later in the webinar is how to build up an email list of prospects. And that's a key marketing goal, I would suggest. And once you've got that list, you're going to want to send them some information, and, a newsletter about local business issues could be really good. If you've got a very specialized firm, you could be sending them that kind of industry or sector information. The more targeted, the better. And of course, every email should have the facility for somebody to book a meeting with you. Again, trying to hit that goal of having more meetings with clients and prospects. So that's newsletters. What I would call email blasts would be like a promotional email that you send out to either clients or prospects. So, like most marketing, it's better not to sort of dilute and send several messages in one. With an email blast, you would send, promote like one product or one service and send that out to a list. And the more targeted you can be here, the better. So example I'm going to give is like, say you focus on real estate developers, and that's a kind of niche that you work in, and you're running an event for those people, then send that email just to those people. So don't send that to your general small business clients. The list is really important. Send it just to those people are going to be interested in it. And the final thing I'd say about email blasts is try and send more than you think. A lot of firms say to me, "Oh, we don't want to spam people." Well, if you're sending them relevant information, that's fine. You're not spamming them. It's and you have to be a bit persistent with this stuff. Your open rates are probably only going to be, maybe like 20%, 30%. If you're lucky, maybe 40% of people will open your email. That means that the majority of people don't open it. And that can be for a variety of reasons. One is they're not interested. Well, they're not offended then. They just they ignore it. That's fine. But some people might just be busy when you send it. You might send it this Thursday, but people are too busy to read it. Send it the following Thursday to people who hadn't opened, and they've got more time. So be persistent as well. Final type of email marketing that is really important is drip marketing automation. And we're going to look at that in detail in a bit further on into the webinar. So I'm just going to check. I think we've got a few questions coming in. I'm just going to check. Okay, it's a more technical thing. I'll try and answer questions as we go along. Otherwise, at the end, I'm going to stick around and answer any of your questions that you've got. So just jumping back. So we're going to have a look at websites now, and while there's so many more places to be found online now, Facebook pages, LinkedIn, Google listing, the website is still kind of like the hub of your online marketing activity. So let's have a look how it should work in 2017. So the first thing is, I think there's a checklist of things that you want your website to be. Number one, you want it to be different. So, if someone is doing research into accountants, why would they choose you over other firms in the area? What is your point of difference? And if you do have a point of difference, have you communicated that clearly on your website? Don't say we offer great service or our clients love us or anything like that. That doesn't, that just doesn't cut it. That's what everybody says. Are you credible? So what I mean by this is, like everyone wants to say that they're great, but can you prove that? And the way to do that is through case studies and testimonials. Are you authentic? as I said earlier in the webinar, people buy from people, and so you want to be able to humanize your website as much as you can. So that means don't put cheesy stock images of kind of models on the website, and business people, all smiling, and you've seen the kind of images. That don't put those on your website. Get real photos of you and your team. And finally, are you visible? Can people find your site? There's no point having a really great website if nobody can find it. So it's important to do all that online marketing around it. So with all that in mind, I just want to have a quick look at the psychology of how people look at accounting and bookkeeping websites, because I think understanding this is crucial to kind of being the foundation of how everything works online. So first statistic, 96% of people visiting business to business websites are not ready to engage. Now, I would suggest for accounting websites, that figure's actually worse. It's probably 99%. Most people who visit accounting websites don't just pick up the phone and get in touch. And the reason for that is that they're in the research phase. They're evaluating. They're not in what I would call buy mode. And that's because choosing an accountant is a big decision. It's something that's someone's business. It's very personal to them, and that relationship could last for several years. So they're not just going to rush into it. And that's not a bad thing. In a way, it's a good thing. It just makes it harder for us to convert directly off the website. But I'll show you some ways that we can counter it. The second statistic that kind of makes things worse is that most people who visit your site never come back. So only about 20% of people will ever return to your website. So not many people will get in touch, and most of them will never come back. And some of those who do come back, it might be your staff, it might be people looking for a job, it might be partners. It's not necessarily prospects. It might be existing clients. So we're working off small percentages here. And the final thing that's another big kick in the teeth is that you all know this, is it takes a long time for people to make a decision. So you get them in your marketing funnel or your sales funnel, and they take weeks, months, sometimes years to become a client. So we've got these kind of three statistics that are working against us. We need to keep these in mind and tailor our marketing to work around them. So a couple of website essentials. I think there's two things your website needs to do. Number one is seal the deal with referrals. Number two is turn visitors into traffic. Now, you know that referrals are your most important source of new business, and so your website has a really important job to play in that, in converting those people to clients. Because even though somebody's been referred to you, they're a really warm lead, the first thing they're going to do is put your name into Google, check out your website, and do some due diligence. And if your website isn't up to scratch, you've got the potential to lose that really warm lead. It's not like you need to do a whole bunch of stuff to seal the deal, but I'll show you on the next slide the things that I think will do that. The second part of what your website can do is turn visitors into traffic. I've written there. What I mean there is turn visitors into leads. So what we're trying to do there is go, okay, you've got all these people who are visiting your site. Going back to the statistics earlier, we only 1% will get in touch. So you've got like 99% of people who visited. Well, why did they come? A lot of them will be interested, but they're, like we say, that they were in research mode. So we want to capture that interest. We want to capture that traffic and turn it into leads. How do we do that? Well, what we need to do is give something away so we can grab their email address and start talking to them, because then that long sales cycle, it might be 3 months, then they're suddenly ready to talk to you. It might be 6 months. If they go away, we know they probably won't come back. If we've got their email address, we can keep talking to them. So they're the two things your website has to do. There are other things your website can do, but we're talking about focus here, and these are the two most important things. So in terms of sealing the deal with referrals, these are the essential elements that your website must have. So first of all, it must be mobile friendly. Since April 2015, if your website doesn't pass Google's mobile friendly test, you won't appear in Google search listings on mobile. Now that's pretty important actually, because if we think of this referral aspect, somebody gets referred, they might just do it there and then, hit you up on their phone, and if your website isn't mobile friendly, you're invisible. That's a big black mark, right? So you need a mobile friendly website. The second thing you need on your site is calls to action. We want meetings, we want people to get in touch, so don't make it hard for them. Have your phone number really clear, have good buttons that people can click to book with you. You might have chat on your website, you might have an appointment booking service. All of that stuff is cool. Make it easy for people to get in touch. You need a team page. So I think it's probably the third time I've said it now. People buy from people. The human connection is really important. And, we did a bit of research on this on our clients' websites. So we're talking like a few hundred firms across the English-speaking world. For 90% of them, the team page was the second most viewed page. So I think that tells that story, is that people are interested in who you are, who your team are. So you need to include that. Case studies and testimonials, essential. Basically, it's that credibility part. So next part I'm going to talk about, you want to have a really simple services page, and I'll come back to the case studies and testimonials in just a second. Too many accounting websites have a whole bunch of technical information on their services. Like, first of all, that stuff is deeply boring, and second, the people who are looking at the website don't really understand it, right? The value of what you do is having a conversation with those people and discovering what their problems are, because more than likely they don't know what their problems are. That's why they're problems. They know you can do a tax return, they know you can do some management accounts, but how can you help them with their business? You can't really list that out on a services page. So I would say keep that stuff really simple. The bit where you can really sell what you do, how good your service is, what services you actually offer, is case studies and testimonials. If people can see real businesses, real individuals who you've worked with, and they're saying great things about you, then that's really, really powerful. More powerful than anything you can write about what you do. And they could be written testimonials, case studies, or videos. As much of that stuff as you can get, I would get it on your site. It's really, really good. And so I suppose I'll talk about the blog in just a second. What I've outlined there is a very simple website, and there's a reason for that, is that we're trying to get meetings. We don't want the website to get in the way of that. We don't want to bog people down with loads of information on your services, the history of your firm. We want a very simple site that makes it easy for people to get in touch. That doesn't mean that you can't have some deeper content on your website, particularly if you're very specialized and you can write some very niche content. A blog is a great place to put that content. Lots of advantages to having a blog: search engine advantages, keeps your site looking fresh. If people have been referred, they can come and see that you're knowledgeable, you've got this great information there. But that's where you have the depth of your website. The rest of it, I'm saying, keep very, very simple. You just want that so that people can come in, see the authenticity, see your team, to get that credibility from the case studies and testimonials, and hopefully get in touch. The blog, that's got that information could be useful for clients and all of that, but for referrals, that simplicity is important. So if you want to get your website checked out, we actually do a free website audit. I'll give you the link for that at the end of the webinar, but we can check through your website. It's completely free, and give you some suggestions about what's working, what's not, and what to do about it. So the second thing about your website, you want to turn those visitors into leads, and the way to do that is with lead magnets. That's basically putting something on your website where you give something away valuable, that then people are prepared to give you their email address in return. So basically, you're giving something away to get back. And what I'll do here is I'm going to jump onto a live client's website and show you how this works in practice. So I'll just jump in here. So this is a firm we launched a site for in December last year, and at the bottom of every one of their pages, they've got this need help with writing a winning business plan. So people visit their site, they've got all the usual stuff in there that we've been talking about, and this kind of ticks those boxes, in terms of referrals. So the site's mobile friendly. You can see as I drag it down, the content changes to fit the window. A touchscreen menu comes in, so it's completely mobile friendly. They've got a really nice team page. So click the wrong one. Let's go there. Meet the team. So professionally taken photos, the whole team. Nice warm photos. So that's really important. These are local images, so they're in Western Australia, where you do actually get camels in the desert, not in Saudi Arabia or something. Got local images here. They've got case studies and testimonials on every single page of the website. So this is doing all those right things. It's a nice simple structure. It's really easy to get in touch with them. The phone number's there. You can ask a question. This is ticking those boxes. But they've also got this lead magnet on the site, and this is really powerful. So people can come in here, and if they need help, so business plan is something that people are really interested in, right? Like people need help writing a business plan. That small business owners are often thinking about that. So someone visits the site, they're not quite ready to engage them, they're in evaluation mode, but they see this free. People love free business plan course and template. So someone enters their details in there, and they capture them as a lead. So that to me is just a good example of like a simple but really effective website structure. So going back to the slides. So let's just skip through to back to the right place. So we've had a look at all these elements. So lead nurturing is the next thing that I wanted to have a look at. So it's great that we can capture leads online. It's great that our website is doing more than just being a brochure, and we're turning some of those visitors into leads. But we need to do something with those leads, and we know that most leads don't convert straight away. We looked at those statistics before, and so what we can do is use email and automated email and content to nurture leads. So this is something that's probably best shown than described. So I'm going to jump back into our email software here and show you how lead nurturing works. So what would happen, just like that lead magnet that I showed you on the website there, someone would get pushed into email marketing software here, and we can create an automated series of emails that you can see on the screen right here. So as someone joins the list, we send them an email, and I'll just preview that. So, day one, they get this email branded. They can download the templates. They can get in touch, and we start giving them this course on how to create a business plan. And then what happens is we wait a day, and then we send them the next email. So this is the next step in how to create the business plan. And this carries on. This is a 7-day course. We get through to the last day, and so someone's asked for this. They've given you permission to market them to them, and compare this to what if they've been evaluating other firms. Who else is going to be doing this, right? Not many firms are doing this. Yeah, it's really, really effective. Those other firms' websites are probably just an online brochure. They've gone to your website, signed up for this, and you're giving them all this cool free information. At the end of the week, of the course rather, we send another email asking them if they need more help with their business plan. So we're trying to get this meeting booked. Contact details there. You're going to get a proportion of people at that point are going to get in touch with you. A proportion won't. So a lot of marketing is just about persistence, right? And especially if you've got a big sales funnel like you guys have, that takes a long time for people to move through that funnel. What I'd recommend doing is keeping on sending automated emails to people, over maybe one a month, and just keep sending those indefinitely. And you can set this up. So this is BizInc's email marketing software. You can do this stuff in like MailChimp, Constant Contact, Aweber. Those popular email marketing programs all have automation options, and it really, really suits the type of marketing that you guys do, because once you've put the initial effort into setting it up, it just works. And given that kind of switch season when people are likely to change accountants is generally around tax time, when you're most busy, this is going to keep working for you when even when that's happening. So if I just jump back in here, and let's skip through to so this is a firm that we work with who uses lead magnets and uses automated nurturing. They're getting like 16 qualified leads every month. About 60% of those convert to clients. Those clients are worth $4,000 annually. So that's the kind of results you can get through your website using lead magnets and nurturing, if you put that in place properly. So next, going to talk about social media, and I think social now has become really important for accountants and bookkeepers. And the reason really is the social part. It's that relationships element, and the profession is all about relationships, and social enables you to do that online. So ways you can use social media: paid advertising. Advertising didn't used to be that good on social media, especially on Facebook now. It can be really, really effective. They've kind of changed the way they work over the last couple of years, and advertising works really well. Not got enough time to go into that in depth, but I'd really recommend checking out Facebook. Some of the firms we work with are getting really good results very cost effectively through marketing on Facebook. Other things you can do is share content. So, it's one of the most obvious ways that people use social media. Great way to share good content. Unfortunately, it's also a great way to share content that isn't so great. And so you've got to be careful to not add to that noise, of people just sharing fairly kind of, mediocre content. Research. I think that's an underrated element of social media is you can find out what's going on in the profession, in kind of the wider industry of like cloud accounting, that kind of thing, and also what's happening in your clients' networks as well. You can see that and get involved in groups and discussions. But the final and most important way I think you can use it is networking. It used to be called like social networking, and in a funny way, that's the bit that's sometimes forgotten. Is that you can do those other three things that I've mentioned: advertising, content, and research in lots of different ways. The networking aspect of social media is what makes it unique, and that's where you can, if you're prepared to commit the time, really engage people on a one-to-one level, either clients or prospects. And that's not easy, and you can't just make a plan for that. You've just got to kind of do it and be authentic and get involved. But that's a really powerful way that you can use social media. Now, talking about the 80-20 rule of, we're trying to focus on what delivers us the most results. These are things that I think are going to work for you, like a Facebook page. So a page for your business. A few years ago, I don't think that used to deliver much, but now I think it does, particularly if you couple that with a bit of marketing spend through Facebook advertising to drive awareness of your content and your business. I think LinkedIn is still pretty essential. It is the business to business network. So you want to be on there and, kind of either connecting with clients and prospects or getting involved in industry groups and that kind of thing. There's some really good discussion groups that you can get involved in there that can be beneficial. Maybe Twitter. I think you'll probably know whether you're a Twitter person or not. Don't try and do it if it doesn't really fit. I think it's of the three that are on screen, they're probably the going to be the one that delivers you least in terms of new business for most firms. There are examples where it could work really, really well for you, but you can still use it for like research and lots of other things. But for me, generally, I think for most firms, Facebook and LinkedIn is probably the way to go. And you've got things like Instagram, right, or Google Plus, but I think they're quite kind of niche, and I wouldn't be putting that much effort into them or any at all. So the final thing that I want to talk about. So really, I think email really important, your website really important, social media really important, but search engines and search engine optimization, or SEO, is something that seems to be an obsession with lots of firms. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know whether it's because it's like a numbers thing. Is that this kind of like algorithm that people think they can unlock, and then that's going to be the secret of marketing. But honestly, for 99% of firms, I think search engine optimization is not that important. I'll explain in a second, and it's not a bad thing to have a high ranking in Google, but I don't think it's as big a deal as people make out. So first, I think there's a big misunderstanding of how search engines work. People say that they want good SEO. I hear that all the time. We want good SEO. Well, even if you come top of Google, that doesn't mean you're going to get more clients. And that's the only purpose of marketing, right? To get those meetings, to get more clients. If you come top of Google, you'll almost definitely get more traffic to your website. But if you're not doing all the other things that we've talked about today, you're not going to convert that traffic into leads. And ranking well is just one part of of search engine optimization. You need to think about landing pages and a whole bunch of other stuff. So until you get that lead magnets, lead nurturing, good email marketing, all that stuff sorted, I wouldn't even be looking at search engines in any big way. The other thing is that the traffic that you'll get from search engines is quite low quality. We know that referrals are the best. Well, to me, SEO is pretty much the opposite of that. It's very untargeted, unqualified traffic that's going to come through. And the way I like to think of that is, if you've been in business for any amount of time, and you're looking probably to work with the more established type businesses, then you've probably got a network of people. And if I was looking for a new accountant or say a lawyer, I'm going to ask people. They're probably not just going to throw it into Google. And I'd be a bit maybe dubious of people who are just searching for an accountant that way. The final thing is that like SEO is really hard, right? Even some SEO experts are now saying that SEO is kind of dead, is that there's no kind of real tricks that you can do anymore. What you just need to do is create basically a good website and online presence. So kind of everything I've been talking about up to this point will probably do all the SEO that you need, in the sense that, what Google is looking to do is put the most relevant websites for a particular phrase at the top. And you can't really trick them. If you've got a rubbish website with very poor content, and you've got no social presence, you're not going to do that well. They're the things that Google's looking to rank you on, and so doing all the other good stuff that we talked about will probably sort you out in terms of search engines. But really, there's some real basic stuff that you can do, like to get a reasonable ranking on Google. Let's say you're an accountant in Auckland, then you'll want a page that says Accountants Auckland on it, and you'll want to update your site fairly regularly, and hopefully get some people linking to your website. Beyond that, there's things you can do, but the benefits, the amount of effort you'll put in to the benefits you'll get is quite small, because the other thing you got to remember, you're not operating in a vacuum with this. You're competing against lots of other firms. So, you could be putting in a load of effort. Someone else is putting in a bit more effort. You don't even move up the rankings. So I guess, what I'm saying here is you've got a limited amount of time. What should you be doing with that? You could be writing a quality email newsletter to send to clients who are already engaged, maybe even asking them for referrals. You could be emailing a really targeted prospect list that you've been nurturing over time. You could be having conversations with people who are following you on social media, or, take it offline. What if you called 2 clients a day, asked how they were doing, seeing if you could get a meeting and try and sell them some more stuff? I would be doing all of those things before fiddling around with it with SEO. So I think if you're doing compliance work at a fixed price, very kind of commoditized service, SEO might work well for you, but you've got to think of that 80-20 rule of what it will return. So I'm not trying to say search engines aren't important. I'm just saying the other things that we've talked about today are gonna give you more bang for your buck in terms of effort. So takeaways today, before I sort of answer some questions at the end. Hope you can, meetings matter. That's to me the metric is to try and get meetings booked, and online is just a channel to do that. It's not an end in itself. So having more visitors, having more followers, none of that matters unless we're getting dollars at the end of it all. I think existing clients are where you should start focusing your online marketing. It's always tempting to try and get new clients, but with, for example, email marketing at almost no cost, we can talk to our existing clients, and they're going to be your best source of more business. So email marketing a priority. The website is still the hub. That's still really important, and I advise you to take that website audit that I'll show you the link for on the next screen. We can tell you how your website's working, because it's still really, really important. Social media, maybe the last couple of years when I've done this webinar, I've been talking about, is it worthwhile? I think you've got to be doing it now because it's about relationships online. Social media is now a mainstream embedded kind of part of people's everyday lives, and so you need to be there. And the final thing is to stop worrying about SEO. Honestly, we get asked about SEO so much, and people get so stressed out about these tiny techie things that will have negligible benefits, if any, to their sites. And they spend days on this stuff when you've got all this kind of, I guess, pretty more mundane, but far more fruitful stuff that you could be doing. So, if you have any questions, please fire those into the questions window. The website audit link is there on screen, so that's completely free. You just put your website address in, and then our team will look at your website and send you a report after a few days. If you want to connect with me, then you can see the details on screen. So I'm just going to bring the questions up. Any questions about anything to do with online marketing or what we've talked about today, just fire away, and I will answer those. And also, we'll be sending out the recording and the slides after the webinar. So either later this afternoon, or we'll send those out tomorrow. Okay, so I've got a question from Paula, who's asking, how do you rise above the noise to get noticed when there's a lot of content marketing already? That's a really great question, and I sort of touched on that, I think, in the social part, is that it's really, really hard. So I'd say a couple of things. I mean, number one is you could create some really great content, but even then, it's quite hard because there is so much noise. I guess that's where what I'm trying to do with the webinar today is say maybe you've got to think a bit differently, and rather than sort of copy what other people are doing, is to try and completely swerve that and do something different and go, okay, maybe that's not the way we should be using, say, social or the blog or anything like that. Is to say, for example, do we just focus on existing clients and try and get new business from them, or do we go really narrow? Is what I'd probably say, is that rather than creating a general piece of content about business, for example, this is where having like a niche or focus or specialization makes it a lot easier, because you can kind of cut through that noise and talk to the people who are specifically interested. So I was using the example of real estate earlier. If you wrote a blog post on, real estate, business issues or whatever, you could then go into like Facebook groups for real estate people, LinkedIn groups, and so, really go and talk to them. So I think be really specific to try and get through the noise. It just kind of like very generic content, I don't think will cut through there. It's the nature of all marketing, right? You constantly have to keep evolving and changing, and when something is like a good idea, it will start off. The innovative people will do it, and then then the kind of like early adopters, and in the end everyone's doing it. So you just have to do something else, right?